Hey there, we're going to try this again. I'm not sure how long the internet connection is going to hold out. It just kind of died on the last one. I was actually right in the middle of showing some washes on different figures to darken things down. And then I was going into how to approach doing these different metals, getting into kind of limited, so-called limited palette exercise, but that had something a little more interesting to it than just a bunch of grays. How do you get a little more interesting color in that? So you can see there's some green out on the palette. And I just put out actually it's a light flesh tone, but I like to use it for actually lightening colors. So the last session I was doing more of the glazing and washing, but here now doing a little more picking out these lights. So just before they had seen me take what was one of these. Again, it's a craft brush here. When it's spread out like this, now it becomes a nice filbert brush. This is not a dry brush. There's plenty of paint on there. But as you can see, I can get in here and just work right along that edge. I can do the same thing here, like so. Stroke goes in a different direction, but it's the same thing. Now you can kind of conversely here, take the brush that's got the nicer tip on it and get down in here. I can go back and so I can get even brighter here if I need to. You can see even that big old craft brush has a decent enough tip to do some interesting things. Here, let's grab some of that blue, grab a little bit of the green, switch that around, and make sure you can see it. So if Gil and Steve and everybody, they were all doing the chat thing, we're having a good old time, and then all of a sudden it just said, your brand new router, we don't like that anymore, and we're not going to let you do this. So I have a feeling that this means wasting more time tomorrow trying to get this all figured out. Because now I've even got a little bit of each. Have a little bit of the warmer tone and a little bit of the cooler tone. So let's go back to that warmer gray right here. Make it where you can see it. And none of this is final. I'm still just trying to figure, okay, what parts need to have more of a highlight, which need to be more in mid-tone. See, I don't want that getting too bright just yet. So we can always like to have some of the other colors out on the palette so that I can grab those, tone this down. So hopefully everybody that was in the other chat can find this. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll obviously get the notifications. I believe that's how it works because that's what everybody was telling me. They saw the notifications. And again, none of this stuff is actually white. It looks lighter because of what we're going up against. And that was that preliminary glaze / wash that I did to get some really deep down darks. So let's go back to more of a middle tone here on this piece. That's now I've got a bunch of other tutorials on YouTube also, so you can catch those. I've got bolt action battle reports now. Trying to figure out the logistics of doing, say, something like a how to terrain. But those, yeah, right now, this camera setup, well, can't bring it down to the basement where all the terrain stuff happens. But I would like to be able to do terrain at some point. That would be pretty nifty, because that's something that I really love, and people who know me, they know how much I enjoy all the terrain stuff. It is, I just move around here, kind of feel where I'm going. I'm going to look back at this old one, see what I've done here. Yeah, actually, what the heck, we're going to throw some blue liner back out here on the palette. Combine that with some of the grime, and you can go the other way too. So let's move this where you can see it. Maybe we can go the opposite way. And what that does really solidifies that edge. And the nice thing about the liner paints is they can be pretty dark. Now let's get this where you can see it. But you see that's kind of a transparent right there. So it's not really a watery glaze. Not terribly watery. Here we go. So hopefully Gil and the guys come back. I really don't want to take the time to try and send a Facebook message to say I'm back online here. Let's see, I've been doing this about 7 minutes. For whatever reason, again, the other one just all of a sudden, it said, we are cutting this off. So I apologize if that should happen again. Basically, one of the reasons why I have to just kind of keep going is to figure out why this is happening. Because now it's becoming a real mystery. So here on the end of these sword blades, let's do the same thing that we did before on the other one there. And get rid of some of the excess. I can just sort of scumble that edge away. See if I got, looks like I still got some of my original seafoam color here. So I can throw in some of that. Hopefully this is on camera for you. And I'm just going to, I don't want to only work on this guy right here. The whole idea of a workbench thing is to show you how to work on a bunch of things all at the same time. So see, this is an area where I had reestablished a little dark, but see now how I'm starting to build back a little bit of a lighter color along that edge. Even down here. Same thing here. Sometimes with these, the reason I like this approach is that I can sort of feel out which way I want to go with this. What do I want to be? More of a highlight or something that's more dark? So again, I'll keep doing this as long as YouTube is going to let me. So here we go. That's not going to get, again, I'm not working, trying to figure out everything all at once here. So I might kill that, knock that down a little bit. I may strengthen it, who knows. Just whatever you do. I guess the one thing I ask people is to be patient with yourself. I know it can be frustrating sometimes when you want to see things turn out a certain way. And it's not coming out quite the way you envision right off the bat. Sometimes you just got to give yourself a little time. So just like before, on the other side, see how that's, again, glazing doesn't have to be dark over light. Sometimes glazing can be light over dark. Be a little bit different maybe than what you're used to as far as glazing goes, but it's just as valid. So I'm going to go back to my blue liner paint here. And yeah, I was doing some wet and wet blending on the shoulder pads there. Unfortunately, that also kind of died along with that stream. I changed the setting off of public. I might maybe change it back. I don't know. So I'm going to keep on. Let's see if you, I just want to make sure you can actually see what I'm doing here. Yeah, looks like you can see down in the crevice here, just trying to get a little bit of reflected light. And I'm going to do what I did on the other sections here. Let's see, just wanted to bring back that edge. And a little bit of light into dark here. It's almost a little bit of wet blending. So it's not about making this lighter, just about making a bit of a middle tone right here. And you can see a pretty good comparison there. So what I'm going to do there is just leave that a little bit lighter. I can even wipe some of it away. Let's make sure that's where you can see it. Let's get back to some of my, this is a little bit of blue liner mixed with a kind of a brownish tan, one of those secret weapons. So there we go. We'll just keep going with that. Now, yeah, this head, it's a little different color because I had to rip the head off the old one, the one that was there, and put this new head on there. Just kind of how things go. Sometimes it's most of everything that's on the table here is a commission piece, and sometimes changes have to be made in midstream. That's just kind of how it is. I suppose sometimes it's happened to me with armies where all of a sudden the rule system changes, a book changes, whatever, and now it's not that the weapons not any good, or but just you can't have it. So I'll show here just how much room we've got to go to get to white. And this again is nowhere near white, and these are not going to be white either. I just want to lighten those up and get them set up for, they're going to be kind of a glowing red color. And again, to show you where we're coming from. So this guy right here, so you can see he's got the red eyes there. So I don't know. I think people can hear me, but there's nobody showing up in the chat. So I don't know if that is a YouTube thing that's going on, or if in trying to. No, well, nope, there is a chat. Hey there, yeah, there's. I don't know if that is just a strictly a business thing that they figure, okay, we'll change this as many times as we possibly can so that we don't necessarily have to release new things. But I had a game system. Now, of course, it was bought by somebody else, and it changed so dramatically. It became they wiped out. I don't know how many armies I've had wiped out, but that basically wiped out 5 more armies for me just in one system alone. So I've had so many armies wiped out. I'm getting a little bit gun shy on that. That's why I'm just going to play the historical games at this point, because rifle's a rifle. You know, tank is a tank. You can't really do a whole lot with it when it's just humans with machine guns and rifles. You can't. You can tweak things maybe a little bit here around the edges, but you can't just say, well, yeah, that faction doesn't exist anymore. Like, say, Tomb Kings, Lizard Men, Bretonians, all the things that I had, those all went away pretty much all at once. So that left a little bit of a mark. I gotta say that. Now, other folks, it's different for them. Their armies, maybe they changed, but they're still vaguely playable in a new system. But yeah, I was doing a Western style game, and all of a sudden, all the character names changed, and the factions got blended together, and it killed the entire story thing that we had going, and hence killed the game for me. So what I may try and do here is try and tell some folks that I'm still here doing this here. See if I can find in my chat. So what I'm going to throw out here, let's see if I can get some of my, this is a kind of a favorite of mine. What is this called? It's mint green. There's a few of these colors like this. I really like these. I'm going to throw some of this out here, and we'll have some fun with that. This is kind of an ice blue, whatever. It's a bluish white. I try never to just use straight up white. So let's get this going here. And I'm going to, there we go. That's a nice brighter one. And I'm just going to let somebody know here that is it. So I'm going to go back here. And you can see there's a little bit of a brighter edge to this now. And again, this is still nowhere near white. Let's fade this line out just a bit. So yes, if people missed the first part of this, these are just craft brushes, number 8 rounds that I got from Hobby Lobby. They are come in a pack like so. See, $5. And for people that saw on the first section of the earlier stream there, you can use them like how I'm using them, where it's got a nice point to it and everything. But they can also, when they wear out a little bit, they make a really excellent filbert brush. You'll be seeing that later on. Oh, hey there. Watch all your YouTube vids. Hope, yeah, we're just trying to get something figured out here with the internet. For whatever reason, Kathy was trying to do her Twitch thing yesterday. I think yesterday was Sunday, and it just booted her off. And then I was doing one of these just half an hour ago or so, and all of a sudden, poof, it disconnected me from that. I've really no idea what's going on with that. And it's disappointing because this is the kind of thing I want to do a little more often here is just have a bunch of different things on the table like this. You can see I'm starting to get some of those, see some of those brighter highlights from the, you see on the other guy now. And we'll just pop some few little lights here. Now I do use, what do you want to call those? The Winsor Newton sables. I got them. But this is not all that dissimilar and saves a lot of wear and tear. So then I can break out my fancy, super expensive Winsor Newtons for fries, for freehand, for that stuff that I don't want to destroy the brush doing. So now this is even a little bit different blue right here. Mix it with some of the blue liner. Sorry if my hand knocks into the camera. That's another thing I'm still trying to figure out is where's the best spot for the lights in the camera. Because each of these miniatures is really, really different. And sometimes what works with one just doesn't work with the other one. Actually, what we were even talking about is now, of course, it depends if we're going at conventions and stuff, but almost maybe just every day, if I'm doing something here, like at the work table, just turn on the camera so that people can just tune in, watch, chat, or see it later because unlike the other one, this one seems to still be. Oh boy, I think this is made by Dream Forged Games, right? I think they're the same guys that made that big old Titan. Puppets War, maybe that's it. Puppets War. And if I don't have precise knowledge of that, I apologize, but these are actually they're commission figures. And almost 30% of all the commission figures that come in front of my desk, I have no idea what the heck they are. I usually have to ask the person, could you tell me what these things are? Because I certainly don't know. So I'm going into some brown here because the eye is just going to register this all as gray. Turn it around a little bit. I still need to see it though. So now, hey, that's not just a different color. Oh, hey there. Yeah, Gilbert, at about 20 minutes or so, everybody's having a big old chat and everything's going great. And all of a sudden, it just booted me off. It just said, your connection's unstable, bye. And it killed the chat and it never recovered that. That's basically what happened to Kathy yesterday, is that she was just doing her thing, going along, and all of a sudden it died. And I spent 2 hours with some, well, person from another country, most clearly. And they said, well, your router or your modem is dead, so you got to get a new one. It was old, so we thought replacing that would solve the problem. And apparently it really hasn't, because again, there was really no warning at all. I think I may have to do this on, what is that, XSplit, because I think that tells you when you're starting to drop frames. And I might have a little more warning. So I don't want to just keep working on this guy. It's supposed to be a little bit of everything. Yeah, the other one, thanks for sharing the other one. I've got that one on a privacy setting right now because I'm not sure what I want to do with it, because it might be a little shocking for people to just have it end kind of out of nowhere the way it did. It was definitely not the intention. So I have no idea if it means we got to get another Wi-Fi router or not. If it's, but because that's also, I guess it's old. I didn't think it was that old, but who knows? All right, thanks for sharing it, Gilbert. Hopefully this time it sticks around a little bit longer. Because yeah, it was, I don't remember exactly what time it was. It was maybe 20 minutes in, something like that. That all of a sudden it just went away. All right, here, this is another one where I'm going to try and throw a little bit of shading on that, make it darker. Going to do the same thing here. See, I've gotten rid of some of the excess. And just another one there. Yeah, Kathy was going to try and do one again tomorrow, but I think what she might want to do is just do a test one and just see how that works. Because, yeah, the first one we did Saturday, yeah, that was the day before hers. Did it for what, 2.5 hours, I think that stream went. So you can see now, you can remember I was talking about those lighter glazes? All right, so I got turned where you can see it. So I've got kind of the brush on its side here. And I've got, this is actually less of a blue color, more of a brown there. But it's basically sort of a transparent light color. I'm just kind of scumbling this together. Now we got to do something here. But we don't want it to be as light. So let's get this up where you can see it. Yeah, I feel bad that Steve and there's a couple other folks in there. We're having a good old time chatting. But if folks are new, yeah, feel free to subscribe. There's other tutorials that are up already on YouTube. You can check out the battle reports that I've got up here. That's kind of my super favorite thing. That's my favorite stuff I've got here on YouTube. But I know most people, they really get all excited about the tutorial things. This is something that I want to try and do more often. So if you subscribe, you will get at least some kind of notice, because I know I do when I subscribe to other folks and I'll say so-and-so is live now or whatever. So yeah, I'm just working my way around this. Let's get back to, that's our previous one right there. And what I'll do is, before I get too far into other things on the shoulder pads, let's start to mark out. So I got this symbol right here. Let's do the same thing on this guy. So this is, it's called weathered wood. It's not white. It's a little bit watered down. Put this where you can see it. It says click on the bell at the upper right hand corner to get notified when I'm like, yeah, it's, for me, sometimes, who knows what the bell tolls. Sometimes it's a comment or whatever, but usually, well, it's more now, it's more comments. But before, it was always, that was my notification that, like, my military history guys were posting something new. So see, we're doing freehand with this, again, a 35-cent craft brush. So we want to do a little number here. What I'm first going to do is real quick, set that brush aside. I'm going to darken this down real quick. Got some brown liner here, some blue liner here. And I just got to do a quick little darken this down just a touch. Get that piece of hair off of there. And it's all about adjustment, so I'm making a quick little adjustment on the fly. I needed to darken this down. Now remember, the one brush had a point. Now see how this one doesn't have the point anymore. So I can move that paint around, take some of the paint off. Before I was using the sponges to do that. And now I'm doing it with the brush itself. And let's just get ourselves number up here on this shoulder pad, get it about where you can see it. Again, I could do this with the other brush, but just wanted you to see that it is possible, even with this big old brush, to still get a little bit of a stenciled number there. I've got, at least at least 2, if not 3 videos up now on freehand. I think those two of them might be only for the patrons on the Patreon page. And that's just James Wappel, patreon.com, and even just the basic $5 pledge. That'll get you links to all those previous YouTube videos. You can see that this is not the same intensity everywhere. Normally I wouldn't be doing that yet, but I just thought it might be fun for you to see how that happens and kind of show that, yes, even with one of these big old brushes, you can still do some reasonably fine stuff. And just keep going. Again, it's called weathered wood. It's grayish white. That's pretty much the best description I can make of it. So it's not so much of a demo on how to do non-metallic. It's really more, how can you have a little more fun with what usually gets labeled as a limited palette. People say that and they think, well, okay, it's going to be gray. So I think we talked about this in the last live session that I did Saturday. Somebody was asking me, they found this, what do you want to call that, a non-metallic paint set. I think I know what company probably was trying to sell that. And I told him, you're way better off with just the colors you were already using on your miniature. See, I'm throwing in a few little highlights there. Didn't like that, just going to wipe it away. I can just kind of continue here. And I sort of like the highlights along this one side. Gonna try and get a few here. Oh, thank you very much, Bethany. Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm glad that some people were able to find the stream again and get back into the chat, and some new folks too. I think that was the other thought that I had about it too, was, I mean, yeah, when I'm doing this for hours and hours, I can play the usual history documentaries and everything else. But Now, even though I find new ones and that sort of thing, it's not quite as much fun as talking with folks. So this is a case where I'm just going to darken that down and pull some of it away. Let's get even lighter here. And just going to be at that one point. So I've kind of been working towards that. Started out with the middle tone, then I darkened the edges, and I threw in that kind of seafoam green. You can see I have a few of these out on the palette. It's not a wet palette, by the way. It's just a piece of palette paper. I know lots of folks are big into the wet palette things, and that's great. That's cool. But as a person who used to do watercolors, I'm used to keeping those colors going. I'm going to go back into my teal blue color here. Let's highlight a few of the fingers on this armored glove. If it gets to be, at an angle where you can't see it, I apologize for that. There's times where I just have to hold it where I can get to it. So that's, I don't want to, I think I'll not get in too much to the face there, because I think what I'll do on future YouTube tutorials is when I come stop it and set up the camera and everything so I can just paint that one piece and get that to really be focused on camera. It's really more like how I approach the battle reports. So let's go back to this little guy here. It's thin enough to flow. I think that's better. I tend to be always posting stuff all the time, and there's times I hope people don't get sick of it. It's there's always so much stuff going on here. That's why there's always so much to show you. All right. So I'm just going to do is throw that red out there. You can let it dry for a second. But now I'm just going to bring this back. And while I got the color there and while that's drying, usually when I'm just doing this myself, I just kind of bop around from one thing to the next. Here we go. Sometimes I just need to change the shape of things. I can see that this circle was not the same size as the other one. And I just got to remind myself that those are also eventually going to be red. So let's grab ourselves the regular liner brush. Yeah, who the heck gets tired of art? I know I certainly don't. I really, yeah, I guess doing this stuff every day that I'm doing this, just kind of by default, there's something new that I'm bound to learn each time. So here we go, and got to remember the line around this. Reason I switched to this is because there's other areas where I want to start to get a little more definition. Just going to throw that there. And while I've got this, see, now I'm starting to bring out a few outlines and edges. Every so often, so I'll throw that there. Sometimes just wipe it away. So see, yeah, now we're 41 minutes in and no problem. I don't quite know what happened there before. But sorry to kind of use everybody as guinea pigs, but this is just me trying to see how stable this new modem / router is. Now, if I do these through XSplit, I have no idea what the chat will end up being like. All I know is it's a lot easier to do. There's a lot less lag time. I can't really tell. I'm just so used to doing the Facebook Lives. I can't really tell how much lag time there is in between you guys, say, sending me a little, hey, note or something like that versus me seeing it. So this is just another secret weapon color. We got orange rust here. The idea is to do some of the conduits that are in there. Actually, historic wallpaper restore, that sounds pretty nifty right there. I guess I'm a little more aware of the historic wallpaper because, well, when we were doing the Wild West stuff, and now again with Bolt Action, all the terrain, whether it's a ruined house, and that's why you can see the inside of it, or it's one of those things where you can open up on the inside and move the guys in there. Well, there's wallpaper on the walls, and I've learned an awful lot about the 1860s / 70s / 80s fashions and wallpaper, and now again about, say, 1920s, 1930s. Some of it's kind of Art Nouveau. So not much lag. Okay. Now, for whatever reason, the first time I tried doing one of these, it let me go in and kind of select. Okay, it was like 3 settings. You can have less lag time, but a better picture. It was kind of, you were trading one for another. And I know when I did the settings, I tried to make it where there would be a little more instant. I would see your stuff and you would hear back from me a little bit sooner. Because, well, and two, if some folks are kind of new to YouTube and these other live streams, they're not necessarily aware of something like that lag. They just think maybe the person's not paying attention to them or something when the person just hasn't seen the message yet. So here, Let's just get this over where you can see it. Just starting to push some things more towards orange and other colors. Again, some of this stuff you guys will never see just because of camera angles and such. So I don't want to get too much into that, but not in these few sections where you can see it. It could just be useful because now you start to see it's not just a light versus dark contrast, but now even a bit of a color contrast. Where you've got sort of a warm color going up against all of these cools. But in addition to that, you have something that's also a little more saturated. So let's bring back. So you can see there's still a fair amount of way to go to get as light as that. Yeah, what's weird is I did the settings in one area, and then when I went to go live, all that stuff disappeared, and it took me to a whole nother area. So I have no idea if it actually is on any of those settings. And then this time around, I never saw those settings either. That was weird. Now, when I do them in XSplit, there's a lot more control. I can say 1080p, 720, I think is probably the next one down from there. A little more control over it with XSplit. So if the chat's kind of weird and different or whatever next time, that would be why. Because I'm just trying out XSplit to see how that works. Because the other neat thing about XSplit is I could put pictures up on the screen. So this guy would already be up on the screen. I wouldn't have to be, picking up both of these things and putting them in front of you. Because if you check out, I think it's I'm painting the objective marker. And in each of the corners of the screen, which you can even see here, there's not a lot going on in those corners. I was able to stick different reference pictures. And it was actually great for me because, hey, I could actually see them too. Because otherwise it's pick up a piece of paper to show you and to try and see it for myself. I can knock that down a little bit. Just grab some of the brown liner. I got a little bit of that red sitting out there. Let's change that around. And I may switch those all back again. Who knows? I think that's the other reason I want to start doing these kind of the workbench things. Because I wanted people to see those adjustments that, oh my gosh, I did this, it's gone, it's toast, I can never change it. Well, I change things all the time. So, yeah, I think I still got a little bit of that blue liner out there. So I'm just basically making my own grays as I go along here. Just making my own grays. So this one again, more towards the warm. Because I'm basically using this super light flesh tone. Now mix that with a little bit of the blue liner, make it sort of grayish. Now we'll get a few more in those four. Actually, on the subject of footsore, I believe the footsore actually sculpted that. So ye ask and ye shall receive. What the heck? So I'm going to throw a few colors out here. Just like the title said, you never know what is on the desk. There's a little bit of green. There's a little bit of blue. Now this is one that I had, I think, done a little bit of pre-shading in the other live episode that I did. So let's just mess around with this here. And I think I want this to be more of a silvery type metal. And maybe some kind of brass, copper, whatever else. So we got we got blade from two sides. Yeah, that's well, there you go. Like I said, you never know what's going to be on screen. So let's just mess around with this guy for a while. We went from sci-fi to, well, sort of historical now. I'm going to switch that more to a metal. Not even sure what that is yet. We'll figure it out. All right. Let's keep going with our metals here. Now, good. I still got some brown liner left. Man, let's get this axe going. And a little bit of reason I'm trying to get an earth tone here as well. This part's pointing towards the ground, which to me says it should have some earth tone on it. Now this is probably going to have some snow on it. While I'm here screwing around, I'm going to adjust my sock here. I'm going to move some things out of the way. Yeah, definitely the color stuff, I don't know. I really have a lot of fun with that. So let's see what we can do here with a little, see if we can't figure out some kind of knotwork pattern. And I'm just gonna, again, feel my way through it. So let's get another crosshatch like this. Like so. And we need another one here. And then it's going to be kind of a little game of connect the dots, as long as you guys can see this, I hope. So we just went from, again, sci-fi. I did do a little bit of freehand on that earlier. And we're just going to keep going here. So there you go. There's a little bit of a pattern. Let's figure out where the over and under is going to be. I sat here sculpting the Viking shield maidens. Oh, geez, yeah. Oh, yeah, those would be really cool because, boy, did I see what do you want to call it, like a pre-release, a work-in-progress picture on those at some point. Yep, they would definitely be fantastic. I wouldn't Also be surprised if Kathy tried to steal one or two of those and get it on her paint table. Maybe do it during one of her Twitch streams there. So I think you could see where I was sort of emphasizing a little bit more of a light color. There's the dark. So what we'll do is come out here with, yeah, we'll just, whatever that might be. That is dark wood. Just, again, another one of those secret weapon weathering paints. And the idea is get in here and, because the knotwork thing is all that like over, under. So that's the over, under, back, over again. And this one here, this one needs to go over. And what you can do is, that's why I kind of just working my way into this, piecing together that knotwork pattern. But now before I get too far into that, we got to get some green on this, because I think I'm going to go with, I think that was the original plan. This is what is this, verdigris dark green. Oh yeah, I think it would be, what was the Keltos? That was the line of miniatures that we painted a long time ago. And man, that was a lot of fun. So now we're back to that filbert thing again. And here we go. I've got some other footsore picked that they're prepped. They just gotta get their bases going. I wasn't quite sure if I just wanted to go with the usual bark and branch, and I think that's what I'll do for them. Obviously there's a little more skin exposed, try and get some woad on them, that sort of thing. So, oh look, I'm just taking the lighter colors that I've got sitting around. I know people hear me talk ad nauseum about color unity. And that's how you can achieve color unity, just like on the other one, which was more set in the grays and cooler tones and muted stuff. Here, it's in the greens, but the same color I was just using to do the freehand with, well, now that's starting to appear. All right, so right here on the cloak. So it's really fun. I have, well, many more things than what you see out here that need to be painted. But I was just trying to throw out things that were really different, or where I might be doing a different type of technique on, something like that. And I said, what the heck? Well, let's throw this guy out there. I'm just really glad that you were here to run across that. So let's get, again, that's normally a rust color, but it's also going to be my, I don't know, my gold/bronze. Let's get a little bit of this to it, and here too. So again, sometimes if I go quiet, it's actually me holding my breath. Oh, thanks, Bethany. I appreciate that. It's some people, they get really freaked out by it. And I try and tell them, I say, look, guys, I was a watercolor painter for many years, did pastels. So Yeah, that means you're going to be using not a big range of colors, but you're going to be mixing a lot of colors, and I think sometimes that can throw people too. Is the amount of mixing that happens? They're not quite ready for that. And yeah, I mixed a little bit of that green in there. It wasn't so much to lighten it up. It was maybe to give it a little bit of a different flavor. I need some kind of a light color out here, so let's just throw that same old flesh color out there again. Let's mix that up with that orange, and you'll see how it gets a whole bunch brighter. Whole bunch brighter. So I can go like that, and just all I was doing was just removing some of that excess paint. I think I got this where you can see it. So let's grab a little more. And we're gonna go back to his helmet here, and there'll be more adjustments here too. It just depends on, I say, yeah, maybe I want this to be more of a yellow. Let's get up here. And I just watered that down a little bit to get it to flow a little better. Speaking of yellow, let's do this. Let's start to get some of these clear paints out here. Picture on the wall of your Tomb King's army. Boy, that was a favorite of mine. And it's sci-fi armor to Dark Ages. Yeah, from the grim dark to the Dark Ages. There we go. Well, I guess that's not technically, the other thing wasn't grim dark, I suppose. But now that's going to give it a little more life. I think of all as much as I loved the Lizardmen and stuff, the Tomb Kings, well, the story of it, that was just, man, I still have that story. Still have that story. It was just, and it all started, was it Secrets of the Dead? That's I was watching Secrets of the Dead, and it talked about the Silver Pharaoh. And I was trying to come up with a different color scheme for Tomb Kings. And that turned out I was able to figure out a really neat story. And so here, see, I'm just mix the green in there with that. And now it's going to be, so we went from a yellow here. Let's do this. Let's take some of this clear yellow. Get that where you can see it. Just like this is a little bit like what I was doing on that sword. Let's make it a little A lighter, B more opaque. One more shot there. Go along this line here, get a highlight here. Like that. While I've got my brighter blues, don't want to forget those. And some of the mail here. Yeah, the Tomb Kings, it was, the whole idea was, okay, no reds, no turquoise, no golds. There could be no gold. That was the rule. There was not going to be any gold, which, when you're doing something that's basically Egyptian themed, that's a little bit limiting. And I had to figure out some way. And that's when I saw that show, and I thought, well, let's see, silver. It's almost like they're Necrons. So then I came up with the glowing green, and then story-wise, it kind of evolved to the whole corruption of Zinch. You can see we're throwing a few highlights on our metal now. But again, all that is subject to change. I'm going to throw this brush aside. This is another, so again, secret weapon, weathering paint, as I make the invisible air quotes. But we are going to use this more as a bit of a, as I see, I just thrown skin down there and I didn't, there we go. Just needed to get in here and do something on that skin. Let's go back to our greens before we forget about those. So the tunic, is that on screen? It looks like it. So let's see, I've been doing this, it's an hour now, and it's been stable. I don't know if there's been any herky jerkiness for people watching this or not. But it seems like it's been okay. Nope. I just realized going to blue there is a bad idea because that male has a blueness to it. And I want this tunic to have a little bit of a lighter look than the cloak, and it's also a little bit warmer. And I'm looking for, I'm not going to do a whole lot of stuff on the cloak, especially the fur on the cloak there, because again, there's going to be some snow. I want that to kind of be piled up there on the cloak. So this is, I was working on him and I can't quite remember what the original plan was. So I'm just coming up with another one right here on the fly. And I'm even going to, well, let's see. Let's make a change on the pants. Let's make them brown. Because this is all about showing how to think about making changes to things. Now let's do that. So now we've got a little more of a brownish look on these pants. Don't want to get things to be too green. It's been very stable. Thanks guys for, I'm sorry to be kind of a pain to ask something stupid like that, but boy, I just was kind of nervous after what happened in the first attempt at this here. I'm almost not sure if I should tell Kathy about do a test one, I suppose. So let's put a little shadow here on this. And you can see it's less about making it dark. It's more about trying to get a cooler color there because we had some really bright colors that pop. Now, let me grab some of this, if there's any left. To get a little reflected light under there. Back to this again. So that's the over. And this needs to go under. And there's other ways now we can get some maybe additional free hands here. And this can be maybe a little more of a green. Remember that whole color unity thing? It's all right, let's pull a little bit of green from the tunic and the other places. And you can see how that's kind of on the watery side. The whole idea is that it's relatively muted, kind of understated. I'm going to make lots of adjustments to this yet. I'm still figuring out the freehand pattern that I want. Yeah, let's get some of this even. Maybe a little darker there. And I'm going to throw some of this back out. Again, this is just saying it's maiden flesh, whatever that's called. And I'm going to grab some of that clear yellow. Get this where you can see it. And now we'll really start to reestablish this freehand, give it a little more precision. So that's an over. And this one's got to be an over. And I think you can kind of see where it is we're going with this. So that one is an over. Now that one is. And now, see, later I can go in, start to clean up some of those. So I know people, sometimes they want to kind of do things, kind of everything at once, finish everything at once. Here you do a little bit in one spot, see how it works, see how it relates to what else you're doing. Like I originally didn't think about these in little interior design parts on the shield here, but I thought it might be fun. And we'll do the same thing set in here. So again, I apologize if people haven't been able to see every angle. It's just the just the fact of life of where the camera is. This miniature right now is about 2.5 inches from the camera. My face, my nose is actually touching the magnifier light, which is touching the camera. Basically, the miniature, the camera, the magnifier light, and I are all within about 6 inches of each other. And this, I am determining that I want to warm that up a little bit. And I'm going to make another change to this. Don't want that to be bluish. I'm going to maybe give this more of a reddish feel. I have no idea what this even is. I'm just going to throw it out there. Not even going to look at it. Some kind of a pinkish red. This is why people freak out when they watch me. Because I do things like that. This seems to be more of a natural surface, not a metal surface. So let's get some of his leather belt going there. And beard. I think we'll just go with the classic sort of orangey red beard. like that. Can always tone it back down if I want. Oh, and I need some brown liner back out here on the little palette thing. So yeah, that's what's interesting. It's quite different, but the principles are all the same. So let's show the two free hands that we did there. Get that where it focuses. And what do we have? We had some brown liner out here. Just need to get more of a shadow down in here. Keep that going there. And hopefully that's where you can see it. Need to kind of control my breath here a little bit so I can do some lines. So this is going to be for his boots. I was also thinking of doing the mud spatter thing on the boots. We'll see. We'll see. We got this. I'm going to say, well, if it's going to be a more of a fur cloak, we can do this. And we can make this more like skin. It's going to do a few things. It's also going to set some of the greens out a little bit. Again, this is another one of those changes that we make. And I think on the other one, I was able to do a little wet in the wet. That's what we're doing here. You know, I do it where I can. Sometimes it either doesn't work out or it's just the timing is wrong because, well, I'm working on a million other things. I think you can see on the table, there's only so much that shows into the camera frame, but trust me, there's a lot of stuff here on the table. Just on the table itself, there's about 30 miniatures sitting around me. And that is not a joke. I guess the other thing I want to emphasize, especially if somebody's maybe just kind of joining here on the stream, you'll notice there's just I haven't touched white yet. I've sometimes will paint entire armies without using white. Kind of try and do that on purpose. Don't really want lots of white. It's not really a color. It sort of it can kill your color, really. You're just kind of making things devoid of color, of interest. So that's why I use things like yellow as a highlight color or off-whites. And let me get some more of that. Where's that crazy little sea foam granite? Name is wiped out. Actually, when I do my classes, sometimes I intentionally either bring paint jars that have no label on them, like, say that, or try and wipe out the labels as much as possible, just so that people don't they don't rely so much on, what was that specific color that Jim used? Oh, well, hey, it's been a real treat to have you on while I'm doing this, terrorizing you, I suppose. As you see, what's he doing? Actually, what I had hoped to do, gosh, for years. I mean, we've wanted to do something like this, I don't know, for the last 4 or 5 years. Now, I think we had thought Google Hangouts was going to be the way to do it. just never really worked out that way. Never really quite worked out that way. But the idea was to have basically person who sculpted the thing nervously talking while I do all kinds of graffiti all over his miniature that he sculpted in some kind of, well, like a hangout where you can be talking about it and then the sculpting process. And, well, it would be either Kathy or me, one of the two of us, painting at the same time. We just thought that would really be a neat thing for people to see. So see here, we got this. We need another thing to see that even that makes it a little more of a, because there's more of a reflection there. What I'm going to do is take a tiny touch of yellow. Well, I really hope you can see this. Try and get it on screen here. A little touch of yellow right there, almost like it's reflecting that part of the helmet. The crest of the crown of that helmet. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side here. Yeah, I guess when I finish this off here, the stream, I'll just have to say, hey, you got Sculptor on at the same time. Sculptor alert. I guess be glad that I don't know how to do this on the, what is that called? The not Twitch, but the XSplit, because or Twitch, I guess you can have all kinds of alerts and alarms. And I should have one that starts ringing bells and sirens, and all of a sudden it's a sculptor alert. There's a sculptor in the house. So let's get, boom, there. Same thing here. And sweep this around. Get a little highlight on the end of that. Yeah, there's times where we really would like to have the sculptor's ear, because we could actually ask them and say, well, what did you intend for this to be? I know it was a Reapercon, and we were with Izzy, who does all that really neat concept art for Reaper, and they handed me one of the Reapercon figures to paint. They needed it real fast. And I said, well, hey, before you go away, what did you envision for the colors on these different things? And what hair color did you want? And she was really surprised, because it's no, she's not used to painters asking her that. I said, oh, well, hey, it was your concept art. It's no problem, whatever colors you wanted on it. So I can always imagine the sculptor just has a certain color vision, what it was that they thought when they were doing the original initial sculpt. Suppose if I had a little more time and stuff, I could try and do a tartan type thing or some other patterns on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get to this cloak here, the fur, but I like it as a dark accent right now. That's in focus. So I don't want it to get too light too fast, especially next to the armor. As part of the painting pyramid, I did do, that was was a 100-minute long episode just on painting fur. That's all it was. 100 minutes, I think I painted a wolf. Because, hey, there can be a lot to that. So again, with the spectral highlight there, that's what I was talking about in the blog post today. Whoops. There you go. Tartan was 17. Well, there you go. Yeah, because with the pics we saw, well, obviously the woad and that other sort of thing, but yeah, and I guess well that kind of really featured itself then, and probably with a lot of tartans at Battle of Culloden and that sort of stuff in the 1700s. So I'm gonna see a few little. Remember what this all started? It really looked like a mess there, but now we've been able to. Woad and tattoos are cool for pickleball. We really love doing the woad. I used to have a shop at a Renaissance fair, and I know I had a leather armor thing made up for myself, and I actually had woad and stuff. That was pretty fun putting the woad on. So let's see what we're gonna do right here. Get that where it shows up on the camera. And yeah, just get a few of those. May knock those down later, but for right now, let's just leave those as they are. Again, I'm kind of working my way through that. I might actually go back and darken that down again. So let's see if we can't do something on his sleeve here. First, I got to get it where you guys can see it. A little something here. Something that maybe mimics shield a bit. And some of that over under kind of a design. Just trying to feel my way through it at that point, and then I'll kind of go away from that and find another place to. While I've got these, I'm kind of working on these lighter tones. Bam. Gonna do the same thing here. Actually, yeah, Bill, maybe what I think you can send me a Facebook message. I'm sure we're Facebook friends. You can like shoot me a link to any sites or something like that if you want me to share this sucker. I'll maybe find the timestamp of when I start working on this guy, and then I can just say, hey, you want to see one of Bill's really cool sculpts? Go to 40 minutes in or whatever when we started doing this. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Now it's there. And knock this down. A little bit like that. And then sometimes people ask me, so why did you use that color? And I'll just say, because it was there. The other color, I would have had to grab the jar of paint. Sometimes it's a color that I can just mix faster than I can try and go grab a color. But while I'm going to set this thing aside here, back to that brown liner, throw in a few little let's go back to some darks under here. And over here. And tone down some of these boots a little bit. Can throw a little water in that. Wipe some away. So it's kind of like a little mini toning glaze there. Can go back to, I need, this is what we'll grab here. I'll grab some of this. Again, it's another one of those secret weapon rust colors. And get him. Looks like you can pretty much see him there. Yeah, just sometimes things I want to tone them down. And here, this is like a crazy little gray that I just made out of mixing my super light blue and kind of a brownish red. Now we're talking about snow. Maybe I'd have to go run and grab some of that foliage, so maybe I won't do that part of it. Maybe we'll let that part of it go. I'd like to, but again, if I have to walk away from the desk, that's not riveting TV, as they say. Just gonna get a little bit of a little shading on this axe handle here. And keep working in some of these leathers here. There's just, it's constant adjustment the whole time. There's a pouch here that I noticed as I was wandering along with the brush. There's still some of that left alive. And again, I can always go back in, shift the color if I think, maybe it shouldn't be quite so bright green. I can tone that down. Yeah, let's go back to some that verdigris green there. And let's grab some blue liner. Yeah, that's blue liner. And I can tone some things down with that. So it's a little bit of a glaze, deepen some shadows here. I can wipe away some of the excess, scumble that in. And get a little bit of green towards the fur. Now I got my blue liner here. This is the other thing I wanted to do, is start to get this more in-depth shading on the male. Same thing down here. Turn that around. It's that same kind of going back and forth. And all right, well, that part's light enough. Well, that part's not dark enough. Need to make an adjustment. So like there, that little bit of dark. Yeah, that's to reflect some of this green that's here, this bluish green on the shield. So I can clean up some of my pattern there, make it even sharper. And then if the design gets too too prominent. I can sort of tone that down a bit. Kind of put some streaks over that a little bit, so it's not too intense. This needs some shading here, needs some darks. And yeah, that needs to get toned down. That was kind of bright for no reason. So on the ground here, I need to also have a little bit of shading. Oh, hey there, Gary. How's it going? Yeah, welcome in. This is actually, you're seeing the historical side of things. A little bit of Dark Age figures here. And if you go back more towards the beginning, you'll see me painting this guy. But we were doing some freehand on both. So the shield here, using a lot of the same colors on each one. Is the whole idea of all of these live streams that I want to do is to just show you, well, how do I approach having to paint all the different things that I've got to paint every single day. Because this is what I do 7 days a week, generally between 10 and 18 hours a day. That's one of the reasons why I have to kind of keep that variety in there, because most people, I don't think that's a pace they could continue for very long, especially if all they were painting were Space Marines or whatever. And the basing on this is just the usual bark and branch. I suppose I should mention that. If you go to my Facebook Lives, there's plenty of live sessions that show me working on that. The blog, go to wappeliusblogspot.com. That's the other thing that's good about doing one of these in XSplit, is that I don't have to say all these things. It's just right there. You can see where the page is. So see now his boots start to stand out a little bit more. And again, I don't want to do too much for this because, like I said, the whole point is to do the snow. So I'm just going to stop screwing around with that. I've got something here that's, remember I was talking about the light glazes earlier? That's what I just did right here on the end of this. It's probably 80% water, 20% paint, just a little do thingy right there, get that highlighted. So we'll continue on. Again, this is not using white. It's kind of like a light dirty gray at this point. That's all it is. And at this point, I'm still determining exactly what I want to do with some places. So let's put him down. I'm going to switch back to this brush. I'm going to grab, now it's time to actually throw. So this is just a generic white out here because we're starting to get to that stage where putting it out there would not be, wouldn't be jumping the gun. Back in art school, if you were caught dabbling with the white too early, oof, that was not good for you. So I'm going to find a few things on the mail here, pick those out. That buckle, maybe a few hairs on the first side. So again, it's if I start out with white right off the bat, I can't get any lighter than that. There's no room there's no room for me to try and push the envelope here. So now that looks a little more dramatic right there because, again, I hadn't touched the white yet. Same thing here. Same thing here. And all around. And I'm just trying to find a few areas, not trying to paint the whole thing white, but just a few places where maybe the interlocking rings are picking this up. So if you go to the blog, it's wappeliusblogspot.com. Actually, today's post wasn't just about metallics or non-metallic metals, but it had a lot to do with trying to get all these different colors in those metals. So again, trying to find these places now that I've got the white out where I do want that brightest of bright highlights. I think, yeah, now you can see there's a little bit more of a spectral look to it. Where it's just glinting. I guess that's maybe the word I'm looking for. And I apologize if the wording hasn't been super precise. I'm working on about 3.5 hours of sleep, I think. Because with all the internet craziness, I think I was working till about 5:30 this morning, and wake up call, well, as you can imagine, wasn't super late today. It was more along the sides of insanely early. So this is very fun. Really having fun with this here. Really just gonna pick out a few things with this fur here. Now let's see. See if I can get this shield where it looks like you can see it. And yeah, see two little kind of side-by-side highlights there. Again, maybe a little bit with the white here. I'm going to put my Reaper. Nope, not going to put the clear yellow. So this is a different, this has a little more red in it. I could make that with a little red and clear yellow, but don't want to have to make you guys wait for that to get out on the palette. Just want that's what I need. A few there. I think I got this. Yeah, I think that's about where you can see it. And right there over the top, because it's contrasting with that a little bit. Now, good, I still have my green out here. So I got green. Take this yellow with the green. Because I got green all over the place here. I want some of it on this helmet right here. So you can see how that's kind of orangey and darker. This is greener and lighter. And I know it seems counterintuitive and weird, but it really does make sense. Because your eye just looks at it and registers it all as gold until you look closer and you say, oh, that's kind of interesting right there. So see, we got here again, light, dark, then light again. Same thing over here, and this needs the same thing. There's just too much. It's a little bit of a dead zone there. And do the same thing. Gotta move it so I can see it. Sorry, guys. You can see I need a little more of my, I'm going to grab some of my orange out again. Yeah, let's see a little bit of that out there. Again, that's one of these secret weapon weathering colors. It's orange rust, but we're using it for gold because that's how we roll. Let's get this out here. Get it where you can see it. Now I can go back to my green. Yeah, that's just what I needed. And I've got this bit of a darker red. So this just can't be a smooth transition. I need to interrupt this. I'm going to do it like that. Now go back to that golden yellow. Go on to the underside of that. Good, still got a little bit of this left. Just enough. Bang, right there. Sometimes that's all it takes is just a little touch of it. Doesn't have to be a big swath. Now, the reason why there's green here is if I'm going to have this orangey beard, need some way to get contrast from that. Remember, green and red are opposites. Your eye's not going to register that as green, though, which is handy. It's well, my favorite term is optical delusions. That's what I'm a specialist at. Is making you believe what I want you to believe as far as what's there. So is that, there we go. That's reasonably in the camera view there. And let's see. So I need to get, oh, there's still a little blue liner out here. That was a pleasant surprise. Yeah, just in general, it seems like if I hold this on its side, that's when I'm doing these type of miniatures, if I hold it on its side, that tends to get it on screen better. So again, see this little bit of light that interrupts the dark, so it's not just dark descending into that crevice there. Same thing on this side. So hopefully that's starting to make some sense for you. Let's figure out what we want to do on the end of this to make that stand out a little more. Let's go back to that green again. I think, there we go. And so this again is really, really liquid type color here, not super intense. And I'm just adding a few touches of this green, greenish gray around where I can. Now, believe it or not, the whole original purpose of this blue liner was to get in here and do this. It's the whole reason that was out there. Just throw that on there. It's just knocking that down. And the same thing here on this green. Now again, there's places where you really can't see it, as far as which way I turn the miniature. So hopefully that's on camera right there. You can see that helmet. I knew that was going to be probably one of between that and doing the knotwork design here on the shield. That's what people are really, really going to want to see. With some of the metals on this. Now it's a small figure, so I can understand if it was kind of on the small side for people to see. I'm going to go back to this crazy pinkish type color. Grab some of the golden yellow again. See if I can do something on the beard here. That's a nice orange there, but it's different than the orange of the helmet. And just like before, I'm going to find this few spots here to highlight. This is a super intense orange because, well, you know, what's the whole deal? You want to have center of interest where the face is. That's one way of doing that. So let's make sure we have it everywhere here. We're going to touch it. A few spots on the shield. Maybe even on the design there. Let's see how this goes. Again, from green to an orange. And I'm going to liven this up a bit. Get a little bit of... That's what I need. So I need to get a little reflected light here. But I also want it to be a bit more intense, a bit brighter. Hey, Brian, how's it going? Yeah, I've been working away at this for a while because, believe it or not, we have had the sculptor of this miniature, just a coincidence of coincidence. The sculptor of this miniature just happened to be watching the stream. And I was actually working on this, and then he mentioned footsore miniatures. And I said, oh, you mean maybe like this guy? And he magically appeared. And that's what we've been painting since, about the 40-minute mark or so. Glad to hear you're doing okay. Yeah, there was a part of it that feels bad because if Gil and the guys have a hangout going, I know I would have been doing this in the hangout usually. But then this, well, I guess the hangouts are recorded on YouTube, so you can go back to those too. I'm liking this again. This is just a little orange color that I just kind of revved up myself. And I'm just throwing in a few places here. That's it, just a couple. Now let's get it on this. And I hope this is in focus for you guys. Come on, there we go. And the whole idea of this was I was talking about limited color schemes, muted colors, compressed palettes, whatever term you want to use for it. Let's get a little more darker red out here to go back and tone some things down. Make sure I've got this where you can see it. This was the other thing I was trying to show people too, is nothing is set in stone. You put stuff out there, you say, that's too bright, tone it down. And vice versa, you say, that's not bright enough, you brighten it up. You say, there's not enough contrast there, or, darn it, that freehand is just too much right there. Or, well, that kind of needs some free hand there. Sometimes I think once people see somebody do it, it just starts to make it seem a little bit more, it makes it okay for them to give it a try. So this, boy, I still would prefer if that was more of a green. So let's see what I've got here. I'm just going to have to put some seafoam blue back out here. So some of this, just want to have it around. Because I still got this. And it's this thing that I'm after right here. So we got this darker thing on the helmet, right?